welcome back to the Pajama Party Profit Show, where I often film from my bedroom. And it's not always in my pajamas, but if you want to send me some, you're welcome to do that. The scope of our show is sharing all of these rock stars that I get to meet who are doing a business or some type of work from home. So they're actually making money, they're full-time, and they are able to do that without driving in the awesome stuff that we had on the ground in Houston, Texas today. We had white, fluffy snow. We've got pictures of snowmen and actual snow in my car. I haven't seen since Chicago. I've been here about 13 years now, and this is the first time we've actually had snow that stuck. So it's so awesome. Today's guest is someone who is right along the same lines of work as I do in my Done For You media. And he is sharing all sorts of awesome tips on marketing and marketing his marketing and how he's negotiating things. And I said, hey, I need you to come on this show and share all of your stuff with us. And he's just such a trooper. He has no idea. He's never saw us before, but now he's one of the family. So please welcome Matt. Hey. Thanks for joining us. You are in Minnesota, you said?
I'm in Duluth, Minnesota, way up north. A couple hours.
So you're used to this white fluffy stuff.
I love it. I live for that.
It's all right. Once every 10 years, I can handle it, I think, but not something I want to drive around in every day. And I know that you're doing that a lot, and you've got some great tips, and I've shared some tips as well in your group, just on what it's like to work with someone who doesn't do exactly what you do. So sometimes our communication patterns get a little bit of a breakdown. I think that's kind of the thing that I was sharing. You were sharing a specific tip. Basically, I think the hardest thing in negotiations, and this isn't really the scope of your conversation today, but I know that it's the biggest conversation that we've had that sticks out. And you were telling people about how really to negotiate and how to go about making that sale, and we were kind of sharing similar things. So this guy is you want to connect with him, you have 3 names on Facebook. It's Mathew,
Robert,
go with the rest.
Mathew Robert Tims.
That's me.
Mathew Robert Tims. And of course we're going to have a link so that you can connect with Mathew on either social media or through his website at the show notes at pajamapartyprofits.com. If you want to hit us up, make sure that you are following us and subscribed on YouTube as well. And if you've got stuff that you want to share, you know, a rock star that works from home, make sure that you hit us up there too. All right. So got on here and you're like, what are we talking about? And I explained, people that watch this are in general thinking about working from home. And you've been doing that for how long now?
At least right around 2 years, only at home, working for myself. A lot longer than that though.
Okay. So are you saying that you did not just quit your job or get fired like many people do? And how you decided to build this business on a side? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So I did so this is kind of my backstory. My background is not in business. My background's not in marketing. My background is in music education. So that's been my passion all my life, is music. I love teaching people. And so when I was graduating from college, I decided I didn't want to be destined as a broke teacher or a broke musician. So I made the leap of opening my own music store, because why not? And right around the same time so it was about a year I was working for kind of some different nonprofit organizations. Made about a year in, was just opening my music store, had enough students where I could kind of pay rent, keep it open for a while, and then got kind of surprised let go from this nonprofit. Crazy, right? Oddly enough, you know, I was actually doing great. It was just weird people. People are people. You just never know. And so I had to figure out how to get people in the door. I had to figure out how to get students. I had to figure out how to get musicians coming in and buying stuff. So this was in like 2011, 2012. So that was early, I would call it early days of social media marketing, where, you know, Facebook, they were still trying to get businesses on Facebook. And so fan pages back then were getting crazy amount of reach, like 40 to 60, completely organic. You didn't have to do anything. Nobody was on Instagram business wise. And so I just had to figure things out real quick because I had no other place to go and I had to figure out how to make money. And so, a couple years into that, and when you start doing something well, people tend to look at you and want you to help them, especially when it involves making money. So I started helping just different businesses with social media. And then about 2 years ago, I was getting ready to get married and move away from my music store. And so at that time I was doing some social media work, some marketing for other companies. And I just kind of decided the stars aligned. I had enough clients where I decided I was going to make a leap and kind of just do my thing and just do marketing full time. So that was about 2 years ago, and moved from South Dakota up to Duluth, Minnesota, and been working at home ever since.
Minnesota, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, you are not the first guest, believe it or not, that says that they were kind of thrown into the full-time entrepreneurship issue after parting ways with a job that wasn't necessarily their choice. And you don't know my story, but much of it has to do, we're both educators, by the way. My master's is in education, bachelor's is in business. And yeah, I've taught every grade except for 9th and 10th. So I feel your pain, but I also understand the passion, and I put a lot of that into what I do in marketing. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I was there with you. I actually offer a product that shows people exactly what I did, teaching people about Facebook. You walk into 2 years ago, especially, even now, but even especially 2 years ago, walk into any networking group and you say, I know Facebook, and they're handing you their card. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. Now it's a little bit more LinkedIn, and the messenger bot thingy. I don't know I know that you're doing a lot of ads and stuff. People are curious about it, but I think it's at the point where I'm just going to say it's pissing people off more than enticing them to, hey, I want to market this way. So that might be something that you and I will be talking about in the future about where that's going to go. Because I've been watching and I know that you know your stuff, and it's really fun to have a comrade like that. I don't know about you, but when I was teaching, I had a lot of issues, and some people see me. I had issues when I was teaching because I didn't exactly fit in, and I had to learn really quickly, especially when I came to Texas, how to talk to people. And I learned really fast to compliment shoes, and that was the way that I got smiles. So when I became an entrepreneur and I started going to those networking groups, that's when I felt like, oh wow, okay, people that think alike. So I think that's the kind of feeling I got when I was able to connect with you via Facebook. Obviously, I haven't been to Duluth yet. I haven't met you, your wife. But it's one of those things where I'm just so excited that I can meet like-minded people and share what you have to share with the world. So congratulations on making it to 2 years. I've been doing this almost 7 now, and wasn't always my choice either. I was someone who got sick, and I first started I started really writing and doing those kinds of things with Amazon. I used to say that Google and I are having an affair, and every once in a while we let Amazon in for a threesome. that was kind of the way that I worked things out. And from there, I was also doing crazy stuff like insurance and teeth whitening, and I had to learn how to get my page found on Google. And as I was sharing all those side notes, people at those networking groups would be, hey, can you do that for me? So that's how I found my clients. But you said you didn't exactly expect to do this full time. You were learning basically for your music business. Is that right?
Exactly right.
Okay. So how did you go from, was it like me where you guys kind of shared, oh yeah, I had this great success, and people were like, can you do that for me? Or did you have to learn how to sell to other people? Because I'll tell you right now, I suck at sales. So
yeah, so I'm still figuring out sales. I That's absolutely not my strong suit. I just talk like it is. So yeah, I was figuring out marketing for myself, and at that time, it wasn't a lot of local stuff. A lot of like established local businesses were kind of in their ways in those days. Now everybody's for sure shifted, but it was mostly like people were just seeing that my business was actually growing. And anybody that knew me knew that I'm not a business person. I'm not a marketer. Like, I'm a music teacher. And so obviously
Not
people are
anymore.
like, I
Not the
know,
last
right?
few years. Come on.
Yeah. So people at the time were like, what are you doing? Like, you're actually getting people and you're growing. At least it looks like you're growing. Like, what's going on? And so I just told them, like, I just figured it out. And what I found real quick was that mixture of my arts, music, creativity, composition, all that stuff, kind of just the creative side, and the education, the psychology, it just, for me, it was a great mesh where I just understood people. And, so just the nature of engagement and figuring out where people are at and what they're thinking. I mean, it's the whole process of education. Where are you at? What does it take you to move you along towards a new level of understanding? And so that's just how I did it all. And then so part of me, obviously I got attention and was helping people out. I realized I was good at just coming into an unknown situation and just digesting a business and figuring out what their game plan was. So yeah, that's kind of where I got into the client side of things. Nowadays though, yeah, I got to do a lot of work to get clients. It's a mixture. I'm doing some. Actually, one of my biggest producers right now is just going to networking events, like what you mentioned. I'm just doing networking events over and over and over, and I'm trying to leverage those as best as possible to be the authority, not just be another person in the circle that gets to pitch their business. But for me, I do share tips as often as possible, but I did a number of kind of creative things that maybe other people can do, where I started a local webinar series where I train local businesses how to market their business on social media. Obviously I do the networking event.
Okay, stop 1 second, because
yes.
I think your cord's messing up. So you said that you started a local webinar event.
Yeah. So I started every week on Tuesday mornings. I do a training for businesses where online.
Is that a Facebook Live?
No, well, I use like a ClickFunnels page and then just do a YouTube live embed onto that.
Okay, so when you go to networking events, you're like, hey, I've got these free trainings on Tuesday mornings. Give me your email address and I'll send you the details.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you're growing your list, which everybody keeps hearing, grow your list, grow your list, grow your list. You're informing them of things. And how long have you been doing that?
All fall, kind of.
Okay.
Probably started early September doing this webinar series.
Are you making direct offers, or
every week?
Every week you're making a direct offer. So
yep.
You teach them something and then you say, if you want me to do this for you, is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's pretty much like every week I pivot and say, this information is fantastic, but you're one of two people right now. Either you're in the spot where you have everything and you're ready to go, and that's awesome. Like, go for it. I wish you all the best. Or you just realize that you're just doing everything wrong and you have no idea what to do. And if that's you, we need to talk, sign up for a call, and let's figure out how we can work together so you can grow your business.
Perfect. So if somebody who's watching this right now says, "Ooh, I could really watch some of that training," because most people who are watching this are either just figuring out what they want to do or are just starting out what they want to do from home. And so if they're working for themselves, they need to do what we did and figure out how to get found, how to get the traffic, and how to do that. So are you willing to give us a link where they can sign up for these weekly webinars and watch what you have to offer?
Oh, sure. That'd be fun. We'll put it in the show notes. It's bit.ly/ and then it's Duluth Social Training.
Okay, we will definitely put that in the show notes at pajamapartyprofits.com. My buzzer went off. So before the show, we talked about how this is a party. So parties have party games. And by the way, if you're watching this, please, if you have a game that you want to watch us play, it's okay. I usually lose, and I understand that. But please send me your ideas because I'm running out of them. But this one we've decided is kind of like, who is it? Matt has come up with, since we're both in marketing, he's going to outshine me. He's come up with one word, which he has written down. Yep. And I'm not a mind reader. I don't have that special talent yet. But he's come up with a word, and I'm going to do yes or no questions. And I don't know, should you give me like a whole minute with yes or no questions?
Super fast.
How long do you think? Huh?
Yeah.
What should you give me?
We could do a minute. Let's do 90 seconds. I'll be generous.
90 seconds. Okay. He's playing tough now. 96 seconds. I have to convert that to 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right. So I'm just going to ask yes, no questions, try to figure out this marketing word. And I am so not in that zone right now, but I'm going to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I am hitting the start button right now. Here we go. All right. So is it more than 2 syllables?
Yes.
Okay. So is it networking?
Yeah, it's not. No.
No. All right. Does it start? Oh, man. Is it an online word?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not Facebook because it's more than 2 words or 2 syllables. It's 1 word. So it's not content. Is it SEO?
It's not. No.
I don't know how to ask for hints on this one.
It's more Facebook-like. We'll start there.
More. Oh, he's giving me a hint. More Facebook-like. Oh, is it? Well, now I'm thinking engagement.
It's not. You're closer.
It's not engagement. That's kind of a Facebook-like. Okay. We've got groups on Facebook. We've got ads. Those are all 1-syllable words. Oh, wait. Something to do with an ad? Pixels?
Yes. No.
Pixels are redirect.
Oddly close.
What is that word? Target?
Is that your buzzer? Oh,
yeah,
my goodness. I am impressed.
Did I get it? Oh, my
God! Nicely done. I don't know if the host is allowed to win. Is that okay for a host to win?
Yeah, we'll put that in. I don't know. If that was on Family Feud, that might be a win. You're like, guys will have to let me know if I won that or not. Please. Please. Thank you for being such a good sport. That was a fun one. We might have to do that one again sometime. Okay. So, Matt, you have accidentally started your own business, much like me. You didn't really decide one day that you wanted to be a marketer. I did study business, but my real love was teaching, and I found the same that you did, where you just kind of put things together. I think the reason I'm such a horrible salesperson is because I just want to educate people, and I over-educate, and then I'm trying to make them like me. So that's one of the things I had to learn, was not to just give them choices, just like the kids, right? I do a lot of stuff with kids. Yeah. So,
well, the hard shift that I've had to make is in teaching. You want them to learn, you want them to get to a certain point, which is like, I feel like that's everybody's nature. Let me help you understand. Let me help you grow, which, as a salesperson, that's still kind of our goal, but it's after. We want them to do it after we get the money. So I'm
right. We want to do just enough to make a decision first, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why that's doing that. Okay. Yeah. So, when you found yourself and you finally decided, let me ask you this, because I didn't ask you yet. Do you have a website for your marketing services?
Yeah, MathewTims.com is what I've got.
MathewTims.com, not Matthew Robert Tims.
I know, it's a lot to remember.
And everybody, by the way, if I haven't preached this enough, you should go to Namecheap or wherever right now and grab your name as a URL. And as a matter of fact, it's a great gift to give someone who's had a kid. Buy their domain name, pay for it for 10 years. And even if they do nothing to it but point it to their Facebook page, you want to own that property because nobody is yourself, right? So what's that quote? You have to be yourself because everyone else is taken, right? But people do have the same name. So grab your URL right now. And if it's already taken, you can't do your middle name too, add the real or something in front of it, but grab your domain name. So great job, Matt. I'm glad you did that.
Surely.
I'll be proud of you.
Surely.
Okay. Actually, did I already show? I don't think I showed this yet.
Not yet.
Ronald Wilshire is a friend of mine, and you can find him at brandingforhumans.com. This CD is one of the services that I offer too. If you are a speaker, if you go to those networking events and you want to have something to offer people, you can either give these away because when you interviewed and you are all of a sudden you're an expert, like you're a bigger expert now, Matt, because you've been on the show. You already know that. And you can either give these away to people to give them important information, just like Matt does with his weekly webinars, or you can actually sell them in the back of the room, things like that. So that's one of the things I offer. But Robert, the reason I picked this one up is because Ronald will often preach buy your domain name, just like we talked about right there. So you were thrown into it. You obviously love what you do. I can see that. I wouldn't have invited you on if you didn't. And I know that you're good at it too, but just by the conversations that we've had in your Facebook group. Though, because now you're a teacher, a fellow teacher like me, so let's not overthink it too much. But what advice would you give someone who was, we can almost go, let's talk about one more thing before I ask you that question, because I want to ask you this directly, because this is kind of a recurring thing. I got sick, and that's why I had to go into my own thing full time. I'm pretty much unemployable at this point because once you've worked for yourself, it just doesn't, maybe you could after 2 years, I don't know. But part-time as a waitress is probably the only thing I could really do because you need to be able to have something that's motivating you to continue to do your own thing. What would you say? Would you say that if you weren't, quote unquote, if you didn't part ways in the way that you parted ways with this employer of yours, do you think that you would be working for yourself? Or do you think that that was something that had to happen?
That's a good question. I think I would have ended up working for myself at some point. In hindsight, I look back, and when I was growing up, I would say I had a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies. I did things like I opened up a paintball course. Just why not?
Awesome.
I know, right? I outsourced my paper route to my sister. So like, I knew I did stuff like that in hindsight, but at the time I was like, I didn't know it was business or entrepreneur or whatever it was. I just did it because it felt right. And, so at the time though, I think it would have taken me probably 10 more years. If
10 more years, really.
maybe 5, I don't know for sure, but it would have taken me quite a bit longer if I wasn't kicked out of my comfort.
Right, okay, because you had comfort, so it's because you had something paying the bills and you had to show up. And it doesn't it? Not it takes a lot of self-discipline to actually get something done every day. You obviously have that because you responded to my text at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you're getting up very early. There was a time where I was going to bed around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, but you said you're just an early riser. So that's really early.
Just getting rolling.
Wow. So you're going to be crashing here in a few minutes, probably.
Yeah, I got another 4 hours in me though. We'll be good.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for sharing half of one with us, and I'll final with the last question that I ask everyone, and that is, what advice would you give someone who is considering doing their own thing but might not know what it is? Where would you tell them to look or to do to help them along that path?
Yeah, I would say two things. For one, don't don't downplay what you're good at. A lot of times when you're really good at something, you're an expert, it's so easy to belittle that skill and think that it's not something you could offer, not something you can monetize because it's just a hobby, or I just do this thing on the side, or I'm just good at social media, no big deal. Like no one would ever pay for that. The reality is, if it's super easy for you, and it's something that excites you, like don't don't downplay how much value that can actually provide to somebody else, whether it's consumer facing or business facing, like marketing. Like don't downplay your expertise. And the other side of it, um, don't assume anything when you're talking to people. Let them fill in their own blanks, and you're going to have a lot of questions answered about what can you sell, or what are they actually looking for. If you're trying to do client work, I think this was one of our conversations that we had. If you're doing client work, don't force on them that I'm trying to get $2 per lead on Facebook ads. They don't care. Just listen. If they it might just be, I just want to feel good that somebody's taking care of my Facebook. Awesome. If it's I just want people to show up at my workshops, like great, listen to that. And if you're in consumer stuff, jump in Facebook groups, just listen to what people are saying and respond to that. Don't try to assume that you already know what people want. Just listen to them, and that is the best way to figure out what you can actually turn around and provide them.
I love that. So you're coming from, Matt, you're coming from the educational feed people. What you just said was listen first and then provide, instead of trying to shove something down someone's throat. So I think that's perfect advice for someone just trying to start out. I know that's how I ended up doing it. It wasn't the teeth whitening business, the insurance business, or any of the book authorship stuff that any of the other things that I offer people to be excited. And that's what people came up to me and talked to me about at the networking events. It wasn't anything that I pitched that day, because this poor networking group I went to for about 2 years, they never knew what I wanted or what I was doing that week. It was like, what business is she in this week? It was insane. But it was the things I was passionate about that I talked to them about when I wasn't doing that 60-second commercial. And I say, hey, you know what? I just found out my website's on the first page of Google, and I got 3 phone calls, and they're like, can you do that for me? And it wasn't because I was trying to sell it to them. It was because I was literally excited that I had had this happen. And the same thing with the Facebook. I just was able to say, hey, you know, I know Facebook, and I'm putting a class together, and people were throwing their business cards at me. So I love the advice that you gave. Listen to what people need. Don't downplay your own stuff. That is another one that I preach along with you, Matt. And that is, you only need to be one step ahead of the person that you're helping. You don't need to be 10,000 steps ahead. Know how to post to Facebook to set up their business pages. You can learn more as your client needs it. But if that's something that you want to do, make sure that you go to the show notes, because I do have a program that I put together. You can watch the entire classes that I listen to. You listen to the people's questions, and that tells you what to offer next. In the information business, that's what we do. In the book writing business, that's what we do. What do people want to learn? What do they want to know? So perfect advice. I just want to thank you so much for coming, Matt. You were not a difficult sell, because you are so wonderful in sharing your information. We really appreciate having you. And we're going to definitely put your weekly webinars. I'm sure I'll be showing up there going, oh, wow, I missed that. Didn't know that. So we're always going to help each other out and share what we're doing in our business to make each other grow. Being an entrepreneur is not the easiest way to work from home. But it's definitely one that many of us are thrown into. And once you find out that that is in your blood, and you meet other fellow entrepreneurs, it's a kindred spirit that you're going to hold on to. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming. We appreciate you, Matt.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.